Several years ago, I had a conversation with a lady that sort of caught me off guard a bit. She was an elderly lady. She was in a nursing home, and following the conversation with her, it got me thinking a wee bit about dementia and Alzheimer's and other related conditions that affect your memory and recall and things like that. So I'm just going to give a little bit of a background on how I came to have this conversation with this lady, and then I'll just relay what actually happened. It was sort of quite amazing, quite funny. First, I want to talk about dementia. Dementia is just a general term for severe memory and thinking decline which affects everyday life. Alzheimer's, on the other hand, is the most common specific disease that causes dementia, or it can cause dementia. And so this is the topic I want to have a little bit of a talk about. Now, just a bit of a background on how I came to have this conversation with this lady. I was working at the particular time with the Electoral Commission, and we had our general election going on here. And now, here in New Zealand, we've got about four main parties. We've got the National Party, whose colour is blue. That's a right-wing party. Then we've got the Labour Party, whose colour is red, and that's a left-wing party. And then we've got the Green Party. Of course, they are green, and that's all about the environment and things like that. There are several other minor parties as well, like the Cannabis Party and a few other bits and pieces. We also have a Maori party, which people of Maori descent, they have the choice whether they want to enrol on the Maori enrolment or they want to be on the general roll, which is for everybody else. So the job that I had at this particular time, I was an assistant helping out with getting their votes. And this was pre-election day. Now, this particular year, I was tasked with the job with another lady, of going around all the elderly rest homes in the local area and getting the elderly people's votes. Now, here in New Zealand, once you're enrolled on the electoral roll, prior to the elections, you get sent out a little card which has got your number on it, and when you go and vote, you just take that little card and they find you easily on the roll and they cross your name off, and all the stuff that happens with elections. Anyway, all of these people that lived at these nursing homes, all of their mail went to the nursing home address. And the staff there, they gave out the mail to those that thought they would be able to handle their mail and understand what it was all about. Any of them that were slightly sort of not quite able to manage, the staff would open it and they would go around and talk to all the residents and say to them, the elections are coming up, people are going to come around and you're going to be able to vote, and we've got your piece of paper here, are you wanting to vote in the election? And they would either say yes or no or whatever. Those that were unable because of decline of health, mental decline I'm talking about, they weren't really given an option because they didn't even know what it was all about. But they were on the roll anyway. So anyway, this particular time I was tasked with going around all these rest homes and getting the votes for these elderly people. So we had, I think in our area here, was about 6 or 7 small rest homes. So the 2 weeks before election day, we would make appointments with each home to go there and spend a half day and just help the residents cast their vote. And we also had to come with us was a Justice of the Peace to oversee every vote to make sure everything was all over and above board. So that was fine. Well, this particular day we went into a particular rest home, and they had it all set out for us sort of in the dining room. Little table there to set up so we could put all our voting papers, and there was a little box they could sit behind if they wanted to do it confidentially, or all this sort of thing. And we had all the voting papers. So one by one we would go through, and the elderly folk would come up to us and we'd say, okay, you want to vote, and we'd get their card from them and ask, we'd find them on the roll, we'd prepare their voting paper for them, and then we'd give them the voting paper, and all they had to do then was to put a cross beside the candidate that they wanted, which was in the local area, and the party they wanted, because you do get a party vote here in New Zealand apart from your voting for your candidate. So this particular lady, we'd been sitting there getting all these votes from all these people, and then this lady come and sat down there, and she was brought along by one of the nursing, or one of the caregivers, and she sat down there, and her and I were having a good chat about passing the time of day, and I got her little card and checked her off the roll, got a voting paper all ready, got it all prepared for her so she could vote. And I explained to her, these are the people here that are voting. Do you want me to read their names out, or do you know who they are? So I read them out, plus their parties, so that she knew who they were. And so I handed her the paper, and I said to her, now all you have to do is put a cross beside the person that you want to vote for and the party you want to vote for. Oh, okay, she said, okay. So she sat there. We'd been talking for 5 minutes or so beforehand, passing the time of day. And it was nothing out of the ordinary. And anyway, she sat there and she kept looking at her piece of paper and twiddling the pen in her hand and looking at the piece of paper. And I left her for a couple of minutes and I said, now, are you right? Do you want a bit of help? Do you want me to read those out to you again? Do you anything I can help you with? No, she says, I'm all right. So I said, oh, okay then. So I just sat there with her, and of course the justice of the peace, he was sitting off to the side watching to make sure everything is all going above board. And anyway, a few more minutes went by, and she just sat there and looked at the paper and looked all around the room and looked at the paper again, and would look at me and look at the paper, and I thought, oh, this is sort of a bit strange. Anyway, I was going to say something to her, and then next thing she looked out the window behind me, because I was up against a big glass window, and I looked out there, and there was a black cat walking along the footpath along beside the building, and it walked up to the path, up to the doorway, and the door must have been open, and the cat came in, and of course this black cat comes walking back down past where she was sitting, and she sort of watched it there, and I just sort of sat there, patiently waited, and I said, so have you decided, are you ready, have you decided who you're going to vote for? She said, I was a bit puzzled. I didn't really know who to vote for. But she said, as soon as I saw that green cat walk past, I thought, that's it, I'm going to vote for the Green Party. So she gets a pen and she puts a cross beside the Green Party and the Green Party candidate. I just sort of looked at her, and I looked at the JP, and he sort of looked up. And so she did it. She handed it back to me. She said, oh, I'm all done now. I'm all finished. And I said, oh, okay then. Okay. Took a paper back off her and folded it over. I said, is there anything else I can help you with? And she says, no, that's all. I'm happy now. I can go. I said, okay then, you enjoy your day. And away she went. And I sat there and I was dumbfounded. And I sort of looked at the JP and I said, is that legit? And he said, well, she was quite chatty beforehand, and I suppose we've got to let the vote go through. So we did. So that got me thinking a little bit about whether people sort of come in and out of having the ability to be in the place at the time, or whether they sort of drift off a little bit. And I don't know what was wrong with her. I would have thought that she was just elderly. When she came and sat down to start with, and we talked away there about the weather and about everything and what was going on around the place, and total conversation, fine. And then the green cat came in. So that was one little experience that I've had, which has got me thinking a little bit about dementia and Alzheimer's. And I've got a cousin who has got Parkinson's, which is also, he's got dementia as well. So it's quite close, and I often hear of people, friends of friends and family members that have got dementia, and it's a cruel thing. I don't know if anyone else has had any experience like that, but if you have, you can put a comment down below and let me know. But I was totally floored that day. So anyway, that's my talk for the day. If you've got anything at all out of this, please subscribe or like or share or make a comment. That would be really great. So in the meantime, I will wish you all a very good rest of the week. I'll just hope you all stay safe, take care, and I will see you in the next one. Okay, bye-bye.